Welcome to Art at Heart. Today we're going to be making a Stranger Things jacket. So this is what the jean jacket looked like before I decorated it. Just a plain old navy blue jean jacket. I got this from my local Salvation Army for about $7. You should pretty much be able to find any jean jacket like this at any thrift store around you for about $5 to $10. And you want to make sure you get a jean jacket that has a nice big back. Okay, the next step is to start painting the back of your jean jacket. So you're gonna need some black, red, and purple paint. I chose to use black fabric paint just because you're covering a large surface, and when it dries, it won't be as stiff. But that is perfectly optional. So I actually ended up using just normal red and purple paint, and it ended up being absolutely fine. So whether or not you want to just use plain old acrylic or you want to use the fabric paint, that is totally up to you. Now when you're painting the back of the jacket, you want to make sure that you're avoiding leaking onto whatever surface you're working on. Also, you want to make sure the sleeves are out of the way so you don't end up accidentally getting paint on them. So essentially you just paint around the square area of the back with a whole bunch of black paint, and then you'll slowly fade into the red and the purple. I chose to use a fairly big paintbrush just because you are covering a fairly large surface. As you can see, I poured some of the paint directly onto the jacket just because it was taking forever to dip and paint. Feel free to try and use that tactic. It works for some people, other people probably find it too messy. It's really up to you. So yeah, just painting, more painting. I believe I'm starting to add some red here. So the trick is to blend the red with the black. So you might want to add a little bit of extra black after painting on the red, and then it'll slowly fade into like a solid red color for the Stranger Things effect. Guys, I just want to apologize in advance for kind of the shifting in colors and camera shots. I decided to try and use an old iPhone for some of the shots, and it just kind of came out bad, and unfortunately I just don't have time to paint a completely new jacket to get a couple of shots that I didn't get. So I apologize for the quality of some of the shots and the color differences, but I think it should be fine for what you guys need it for. Okay, so after you finish painting in that hue and have filled the entire box on the back of jacket, you're going to want to set this aside and let it dry. I just hung it on my mannequin with a trash bag over it so the paint didn't leak through onto any of my other surrounding clothes / dressers and furniture. And when we let this dry, we will go ahead and cut out the Stranger Things stencil. For this, you are going to need a razor blade. Make sure it is sharp. I know from personal experience. So guys, I tried to cut this thing out like 4 times. First, I was cutting it out of like a cardboard sheet like you see underneath this cardstock. And I came to realize my blade was not sharp enough to actually cut even paper. So yeah, don't do that. Make sure you get a brand new razor blade. So essentially, you find the Stranger Things logo, which I'm sure I can attach onto this YouTube video. If not, you literally just type in Stranger Things logo on Google and it should pop up. Now you're going to want to print it off onto some cardstock and then tape it to like a piece of cardboard like I have. Well, I guess it's not technically cardboard, but a thick piece of cardboard-like material that you can cut on, because if you do just cut, you're gonna leave lots of marks on your table or desk or whatever you're using. And essentially you just cut out all of the letters. It's a very long process, but it's definitely worth the end result. For some of the letters, especially like the A and I believe the R, which have circles and I guess shapes within the letter, you're going to need to leave a little sliver, which I'll explain a little bit later when we get closer to that. So the letter will actually stay in place without just falling completely apart. I fully apologize for all the shots of my frizzy hair. When I was filming this, I didn't realize that that was happening, and since, like I said, I tried to cut this stencil out like 3 times or 4 times in a row, I didn't feel like doing it a 5th time. So I'm sorry. I tried to cut as much as I could out of my frizzy hair, but you know, if I wanted to get the majority of the letters showing how to cut them out, then I had to leave it in. And I think here I am showing how you have to leave a little sliver so you don't lose that little dot inside of the R. Hopefully. I can't really see it myself. Oh, it just skipped. No! Oh, see, you can see the little slivers in the A and the R and also the E. I realize this process is very time consuming, but I would recommend to go slow so you don't mess up any of the lettering. And then you're going to want to cut out those little lines. You can either do that before you cut out the letters or after. I just did it after because it was much easier and it was kind of like the finale. Okay, so now you're going to take your stencil and you want to measure out to find the center of your jacket. Well, I guess the back of the jacket. And I just used a ruler, depending on the size of your jacket. I don't remember the actual size of my jacket when I measured it. But essentially, once you find the center, you want to tape it down so it doesn't move when you use the stencil. Originally, I used Scotch tape, and I realized that did not work. So definitely use a harder core tape, whether that be duct tape or masking tape like I used. And you want to make sure that you have it down nice and tight and taut so it won't move. I put tape like all over. And then once you got it taped, you want to find either a fairly big paintbrush or, you know, those like sponge things that you can buy super cheap. I would say that would probably be the best. And then you just dab it through the stencil because these stencils are very, very delicate. So like actually painting probably would not be the best. You kind of want to dab it like I am doing. And as you can see, some of the letters were not cooperating. So you definitely are going to have to go back and touch things up. It's not going to be like one and done. So just be careful, go slowly, be gentle. Once you are fairly satisfied with the amount of paint, go ahead and pull that stencil off. And as you can see, this is what the result looked like. Now you're definitely going to have to go in with black paint and red paint and fix those letters. So this was a pretty easy fix for the most part. You just kind of had to focus in on the letters that had gaps, such as the A, the E, the R, and the S, and then a little touching up with the H. I mean, you kind of just have to look at the logo and determine which parts are incorrect or just need a little bit of touch up. The nice thing about paint is once it's dried, you can go over it a million times with tons of different colors. Then you can pretty much just mess around until you're happy with your end result. I'm pretty much a perfectionist, so I wanted to get it as close to the logo as possible, which I think I achieved in the end. Okay, so next we're gonna make the pins for the jacket. So I used Shrinky Dinks, which I bought off of Amazon for about $12. I'll link it in the description below. Honestly, this was such a steal because you get 25 sheets, and I only used one sheet for 3 pins. Actually, I used it for a lot more than that, but not specifically Stranger Things stuff. So I drew this template out. We have an Eggo waffle, one of the Stranger Things kids on a bike, and then we have the Ahoy ice cream cone. If you have not seen the 3rd season, you will not know what that is. But essentially, you just trace it and color it in with either Sharpie or acrylic paint. I know I showed colored pencils in the video. Those do not work, I had come to find out, on these particular Shrinky Dinks. Now, if you buy something different, they might work on those, but on the ones I have, it did not even leave a little mark. Also, my template I will attach to the YouTube video. I'm not sure how to do that currently, but I'll make sure that you guys have access to it. So I thought it would be important just to mention what Shrinky Dinks are, just in case you call it by a different name or just aren't familiar with it in general. So essentially, it's this sheet of plastic, and you draw an illustration on it, and then you pop it in the oven, and it shrinks to this thicker sort of plastic. Now, when you are making the Shrinky Dinks, I would highly recommend to put them all in kind of a similar area of the sheet, so you don't use up the whole sheet just for like 3 pins. So I would recommend to like either choose a corner or half of the sheet. And once you are finished coloring or painting these, you will cut them out so they'll be more of a precise pin. So for the Ahoy ice cream cone, I just decided to make the ice cream strawberry. It's totally up to you what flavor you want to do it. I'm pretty sure the patch that they wear in the TV show is a scoop of vanilla, but I thought that was kind of boring, so I wanted to go with pink, my favorite color. And then the Stranger Things kid on the bike, I am going to actually be painting like a rainbow in the background. And as for the Eggo waffle, I would just recommend to probably paint that because it's really hard to get all of the different tones if you just use Sharpie, but that's totally up to you. You could always do just like an outline of the waffle, but I really wanted to do it in traditional waffle colors. Of course, I made the butter yellow, and then kind of the inside squares of the waffles, I made a darker brown, and then I mixed a lighter tan for the outside of the waffle. And then, of course, I believe I added syrup as well, which is a darker brown color that I had dripping off the waffle, which you'll see later in the video. See, what did I tell you? Give me feedback. So I actually went over the ice cream cone with a lighter pink that I had mixed up instead of the pink Sharpie. I just thought it looked more strawberry-esque. And then, of course, I gave the ice cream a nice sugar or waffle cone, I guess, depending on what you want to call it. I don't know. And then I went ahead and filled in the Ahoy, tongue twister, the Ahoy logo. And I just used pink because I love pink. But it's totally up to you whether or not you want to do the colors that are in the actual logo, which I think are blue and yellow, maybe red, I don't know. But yeah, I just really like the pink, so I went with the pink vibe. Okay, next I'm doing the background for the Stranger Things pin. So essentially I'm just doing kind of a gradient with different colors, and using acrylics, it makes it really easy. So I started off with a red, and then I faded into a yellow, and then into a green and a blue as well, which you'll see. Originally I was just gonna do kind of like a sunset vibe, but then I got a little carried away and I was like, why not add all the colors? Okay, next is to cut them out. I went nice and tight for the Eggo waffle. I didn't want any excess, so I just cut it like around the circle, so it was nice and great. The Ahoy ice cream cone, I decided to leave a little bit of space, and then I painted white so it was going to stand out and wouldn't just be a see-through background. As for the kid on the bike, I cut pretty tightly around that one as well, so it wouldn't have any blank background space showing. But that's up to you, depending on how big you want the pin to be. And this is what they look like before you bake them. And I would say for baking, just follow the instructions that come on the package. And then this is me adding the white background that I was talking about, so it's not completely see-through. Also, as a side note, these things bake super fast, so I would highly, highly recommend staying in your kitchen as these cook, because it's about 3 to 5 minutes, and you want to constantly be checking on them because they will sometimes roll up. I haven't mastered how to get them to not roll up. The trick I came up with is flattening them out when they're still warm. Okay, so the next part is to assemble the pin. So I used E600 glue and these pin parts that I got off of Amazon, which is in the description below. And you essentially just dab a little dot of glue on the back and place the pin on there, and you want to hold it on there for a couple of seconds, make sure it's secure, and then leave it to sit for about a day. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and please subscribe. Okay, this is Brianna signing out.